Oh yeah. Oh, I had the hair, and he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm here to learn how to make movies. I'm gonna be film director." I would order a pizza and pay for it, and say, "Can some of you guys stay tonight and help?
Yep.
And we're gonna do this." And it caught the eye. The film caught the eye of Roy Disney. I think Roy Disney Jr. first. He's like, "What are you guys doing? What is this? Is this something we're doing?" We're like, "No, it's something we're doing." One day, and we're gonna have lunch. Oh, okay. And he said, "We've got two things in mind in development, and one is the story of Mulan, and one is the thing about Scottish dragons." And I think Scottish dragons must have been, it wasn't How to Train Your Dragon,
Right.
but it was just that an idea of that. And for some reason, I said, "Well, we could always put a dragon in the Chinese story because Chinese have dragons."
Right.
So I said, I would rather do that one.
All right. Well, welcome back to Artist Lunchbox, and I have a very, very special guest today. And one of the things that we like to talk about is inspiration and perseverance, and this crazy business that we're in of media and filmmaking and animation. And today I have the incredible Barry Cook, the director of Mulan, Arthur Christmas. He's a great writer. He's an author. And I'm proud to call him a dear friend. I've known Barry for well over 30 years.
Wow.
And it's been a long time. It's more than 30, but I try and keep it at 30 just in case. But the reality is he's done a ton. He's seen a lot, and really has been, you've been a mentor to me in many ways, I think in the last 10, 15 years in many ways. I know you got into the industry 11 years before me or more.
Yeah.
So you've experienced a lot. And so I just want to kind of introduce Barry Cook. This is such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here in beautiful sunny Florida.
Yes. A little chilly today, but you brought the chill with you. And
I did. I came down from Kentucky, and we really did bring the cold weather, I think. Yeah.
I lost some plants, but other than that, it's good. We don't mind a little chill. And one of the things, too, I just really appreciate you spending this time, because I know you're very similar to me in many ways, where we don't normally do this thing.
No.
This is not our place of comfort.
No, not me.
Yeah. Our place of
I
comfort.
avoid it at all costs, usually.
Yeah. Well,
But since you asked, I came. So.
Well, that's why this is extra special.
Yeah.
I think this is really extra special, and I'm sure I'm going to learn something. Even though we meet every week and we've been working together for decades. There's some things that selfishly I'm going to ask you of the early years.
Okay.
And whatever you can connect in your synapse. And fire it back up.
Absolutely.
Well, let's just dive in. So, just to give a little background, you are from originally Tennessee.
Right. Born in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's awesome. And one of the things that I found out later in our friendship was that your dad was a really well-known artist.
Well, regionally, I guess. He was an accomplished landscape artist, and he did portraits. He did some sort of, portraits for bankers and dentists and things, but he's a great portrait artist also. And I started painting in oils when I was 4 years old.
That's awesome.
Most people would say, don't poison the kids with a turpentine, but it was all over the place with us. So.
That's really cool. Well, he was making a full-time living, though, as an artist.
When I was about 13 years old, he made that decision. He was a sign painter for bread and butter. He painted signs when signs were hand-painted.
Amazing.
But he painted, beautiful hand-painted signs, even like department store window signs, and beautiful script and everything, and the gold leaf techniques and everything. So he was a master sign painter, but his passion, his love was painting, just being an artist like Monet or one of his favorites, and he just pursued that. And when I was about 13 years old, 12 or 13, he said, "I'm doing it. I'm going full time. I'm going to be a painter and see what happens." And there were good years and there were bad years and there were slow times and there were up times and yeah.
Well, that's a true artist's life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even today, it's like this.
And we, in our household, artists were of the highest esteem. Visual artists. Maybe music, not much music really in our house. My dad wasn't a big music thing. I love music, but But, around the dinner table, we would talk about different painters. Van Gogh one night, and Degas one night, and Seurat one. Just all. That's all we talked about.
That's very cool. So basically, you were getting an art history education as a kid in your house, and for you at that age, all of a sudden being around an artist is normal.
Oh yeah, we were the odd family in the community. We'd go into the barber shop, and the farmers would come in and say, "Hey, cook," to my dad. You work hard lifting some heavy paint brushes this afternoon, and they would tease him for being an artist, and he would just be like that. And my dad and my mom, they let us have long hair. We were like the first kids in our community that had like hair down to our shoulders and wearing big bell bottoms and dressing like David Bowie and stuff. And we thought that was cool, and our parents were like, they're fine with it.
Maybe it's gone full circle. Yes. Now the barber in Kentucky's like, hey, cook, put down those paint brushes.
Well, the barber in Kentucky, that's the end of the story.
That's the end of the story. We'll talk about that later.
But he did cut my hair for this.
That's awesome.
How's it look?
It looks great. Dapper Dan. Dapper Dan. You're good.
I'm a Dapper Dan man.
And your sister's a really good artist.
Amanda Hope Cook.
Yeah.
We call her Mandy. But phenomenal painter. Absolutely phenomenal painter. Yeah. And we've worked on a few things together.
Yeah.
But she's really followed in my dad's footsteps. I was a junior in high school when she was born. She was a real sort of surprise kid to the family.
Wow.
So there's a big gap separation. Yeah. And I moved out like when she was a year old, or maybe, I moved to California. So I didn't really know her that much as she was growing up. But she literally trained under my dad, watched every move. And when she was a tiny child, she would literally hold onto his coattail.
Wow.
If they'd be going anywhere, she would just be hanging onto him.
That's awesome.
And she just absorbed every single thing. And he taught her everything.
Yeah.
And she just wanted to do what he did. Yeah. And she really has stepped into his shoes in a way as sort of the fine artist of the family.
Well, I've seen a couple of the paintings and they're beautiful. Yeah. So a couple hanging up in the house. I know we're going to talk about.
Yeah, she does mostly photorealistic type stuff, but wonderful stuff.
So as you're a kid, you've got all this freedom as an artist. You're drawing at this time? Are you doing drawing? Are you?
Oh yeah.
So you're absorbing all this. You're painting. You're drawing. But then, at what point did you see a movie and say, "Hey, can I get a camera? Do I want Because you showed me some films not too long ago where you guys were kind of young.
Very young. Well, I think I was about 10 years old, and Super 8 film, that was the thing, and my dad bought a home movie camera like a lot of dads did, right? Mm-hmm. And I quickly took that and started trying to make movies with it. The first movie we made was a 3.5-minute version of Dickens' Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
And I think I showed you that.
That's great.
So if I was 10 years old, so I've been making movies for more than 55 years.
That's pretty amazing.
So that's all I've ever wanted to do, and it's all I've ever done. But I think that story, seeing Christmas Carol on TV, of course, The Wizard of Oz was a big influence as far as just what could be done in a movie.
Right.
But those movies that would come on that yearly holiday run of networks would show this movie this night only.
Yeah.
And those were big.
So that really was, like, I always try and think about, what was the movie that made it click in me as a kid that I want to do that. So for you think it may have been like a Wizard of Oz or...
Maybe, yeah. It wasn't really animation, I don't think.
Right.
For me it wasn't, and it never has been. And even all the years I worked in animation, it's not necessarily, my favorite films to watch.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan. I was a big fan of cartoons. And I remember, I think I've told you the story before, but we were on vacation up in the Smoky Mountains when we were kids. And the motel that we stayed in had color TV.
Big deal.
And one Saturday morning, I'm sitting there watching color TV, and we're probably like, my mom probably had a bowl of Fruit Loops or something for us. You know, we were well fed back then.
Some good sugar.
And I'm watching this, and Huckleberry Hound, this blue, I'd never seen him in color before. This blue hound came on there, and they're getting ready, and my family's around me. I have an older brother at the time. I don't know if my younger brother was born yet, and my mom's like, we're going on a hike. We're going on a nature hike. Let's go. I said, I can't go. She said, we gotta go. I said, I can't go. I'm 4 years old or 3 years old. I'm watching. I'm like, I can't go. And she says, I said, Huckleberry Hound's on. And she said, we're gonna go. You can watch that next Saturday morning. I can't leave, and I wouldn't leave. I would not leave.
Yeah.
And then right after that was Quick Draw McGraw came on right after Huckleberry.
Yeah, the whole block.
And I wanted to stay for that,
Yeah.
but they finally dragged me out the front door. But I remember that sticking really in my head. It was like that moment of seeing the cartoon. So I loved cartooning. I loved Mad Magazine growing up as a teenager.
A ton of them over there.
My older brother and I, we were really into Richard. We were into really famous monsters of Filmland.
Yeah.
We were way into that magazine.
That's awesome.
And we loved all the Universal horror pictures too.
Yeah, they were
so that was
best.
a big influence for us too.
That makes sense.
Two of us together,
Yeah.
and we worked together on the first few films that I made.
That's
cool.
cool.
Home movies.
So, with that story that you just told me, what do you think was the first animated film you saw? Do you remember?
I remember my mom. It was near Christmas time, and my biggest memory from the night. Oh, there were two big memories from the night. One was she had bought this little Christmas candy. It was like in a little, it looked like a little lantern. They were like little round candies in this little lantern thing. And I think we went to see Jungle Book.
Okay.
And we were in the theater, and I dropped my candy thing, and I just heard it roll.
To the front of the theater.
Never found it. I was so upset.
You don't want to find it. After that roll,
I hate Jungle Book. But then I remember riding back home, and we were in the city of Nashville, and we were on the bus, and it was raining. I just remember the lights and the rain and the window. Just an image that sticks in my mind, and just leaning on my mom and falling asleep.
Wow.
Yeah. But Jungle Book was,
Yeah, which is a pretty amazing
But I lost
movie.
my candy.
Yeah.
It was a bummer.
Yeah. But it is an incredible film. So around this time now, you're an artist. You're at home in Nashville. You're doing drawing. You're making these movies with your friends, which is really, it's like you're practicing.
Yeah, comic book stuff too. Trying to do like sequential comic art with a couple of characters I'd invented, and
awesome.
Crash Craddock was one of them, and Benny Carew was another one. And I made my first animated film, The Saga of Benny Carew, when I was 13.
That's great.
Well, Cell Animation, and
Wow.
So that was my first. Yeah.
So you're actually training yourself up, and even the things that you're describing are so familiar to many artists, where it's like, hey, that's kind of like me. You know, I used to make my own comic books when I was a kid, and I used to make my own characters and trade them even, and because it's all in this effort of doing a visual story, right?
Yeah.
So you're a visual storyteller, and it's just coming out of you. It's oozing out of you.
Yeah.
So at what point is there a shift where it's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm a teenager, or am I going to college? Like what is the thought process here coming out of this? Do you go to school for art?
Well, we had made my brother Richard and Brian, my younger brother Brian, was involved a little bit too, and my best friend Philip Stidham. We made a couple of films. One was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, our own little 3-minute version, and the other one was a vampire movie. Right? It wasn't really Dracula, but a vampire movie, and we had entered those into the local PBS. Or
what age is this about?
About 14, maybe 13, 14.
It's impressive.
There was a local
on film.
Yeah, it was like a young people's film talent festival or something with the local PBS station, and we submitted both of those films, and we won top prize, and we got our picture and name in the newspaper. They interviewed us just like this in a TV studio. They interviewed us, and we were sitting, at tables, and Mike Phillip and my friend Philip, my brother Richard, and then the other another filmmaker who had done some film. She was over here, I think she did something maybe animated, as I recall, with flowers or something. But we got a little bit of acclaim for that.
I bet.
Right, and then must have been I was just going into 9th grade, and that's when I changed schools. So when I got to high school, or it was junior high and high school together where we went to school. Might as well tell this now, but these 3 upperclassmen, they were only two grades ahead. Mm-hmm. They approached me one day out, in the cafeteria, or maybe it's in the playground or something, or they're, But they said, "Are you the kid that makes movies?" I'm like, "Yeah." Well, we want to make a movie, but we really don't know how to do it. I mean, could you help us do it? So all through high school, we got this gang of guys together, and we made movies all the time.
That's pretty cool. I've seen some of those.
Yeah, you've seen some Western Beef.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
to kill a jailbird.
Yeah. So that was your little posse. That was your
We had a little
repertoire.
film posse.
Yeah.
And film posse, and one of their moms said, "You guys aren't making movies. You're just out smoking pot." And we were doing both, I guess, but we were making the movie.
Was that the same posse that you guys ran on the tarmac at the Tennessee airport?
Nashville was now a Nashville International Airport, but Nashville Airport gave us carte blanche to film in the airport and on the runway.
Just like today.
And American Airlines let us get on their plane and off their plane.
Oh my gosh!
And we filmed the escape of the crooks, 2 bank robbers who, and To Kill a Jailbird was the name of our, and they escaped on the plane, but the plane did not make it to its final destination. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert. Not that you'll see it anywhere.
It's gonna be on the Studio PB&J streamer soon.
Maybe I'll put it up there. I don't know.
We'll get to that as well. All right. So at what point here you're in Nashville? There's no internet. There's you get the public library. I didn't have the internet either. But when I was seeking this craft, I had to go to public library. I had to find out. It's where do I go to study this? And for me, and I'm sure it's similar to you, but it's how did you find out? It's hey, Dad, Mom, I think I'm going to California, and why?
Well, yeah, my mom had the complete collection of the World Book encyclopedias, right? Mm-hmm. And there was one,
probably from a salesman.
There was one thing on motion picture. Mm-hmm. It was about this long. How to, motion pictures. And so it's all I could have, and then maybe some books at the library and some at school, of course. But when it came time to start thinking about college, my parents really couldn't afford to send me. I didn't really think about getting in debt for it at the time. It didn't really cross our minds. But I got a book that I still have on my shelf, Guide to College Courses in Television and Film. And it's basically just a listing catalog of all the film schools throughout the United States and maybe Canada. And it came down for me a choice of L.A., New York, because the equal,
Right.
And I ended up applying and being accepted at school in L.A., Columbia College. And they're still there. They're out in Tarzana. They teach film and television production. And they're sort of it's almost like a trade school. They are accredited. Mm-hmm. And I started going there for a while, but I really couldn't afford to continue. But the nice thing about that was the apartment building I was living in, 90% of the occupants went to that school.
Oh, that's
so I worked on every film project for 2 years at the school.
That's funny.
And was on every shooting crew, changing film magazines, 16 millimeter we're shooting
roles.
On, learning all the roles. Still photography. I was on
you gripped everything. Probably.
Grip everything. Yeah. Gopher, you name it. And so I sort of got the education without paying for it.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So before you even jump to that, though, you made a decision. You're hey, listen, I've got this book. Here's this school. I'm either going to California or New York. You get into this school and you just load up your car and drive, or did you fly?
No, I flew.
Okay, that's
on American Airlines. I was so indebted to them for letting us be on the runway. I had worked the summer before selling shoes, and I was a terrible shoe salesman. Yeah. But they still paid me.
Yeah.
And I had $1,400 in my bank account. And I think part of that went to airfare, which was not that much at the time. And I flew out there, and I took a bus from LAX to Hollywood bus terminal. I got off I was going to walk from the Hollywood bus terminal to my apartment, which I'd already arranged in advance to be living in this apartment.
That's a big deal. As a young person,
and I'm walking with everything I've got on everything I own, a big duffel bag and a suitcase, and I'm walking. That's before they put rollers on them.
Okay. Not one of those hobo sticks.
Why did it take so many years for people to figure out you could put wheels on luggage? But anyway, this guy came through. I don't know who he was, in a white Mercedes-Benz convertible. And he stopped and he says, "Do you need a ride?" And he looked like a movie executive guy. He had a mustache and gray hair. And he's probably, who knows, he might have been but I don't know. But
did you have the long hair and the bell bottoms at this point?
Yeah. Oh, I had the hair, and he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm here to learn how to make movies. I'm gonna be film director." And he's like, "Well, I'll give you a ride." And so he gave me a ride up to my apartment, dropped me off.
That's awesome.
But that was just something like a little.
I can visualize that as a scene.
Maybe it was an angel, but it was an amazing thing. And the guy gave me a ride, and he saw that I was struggling with this luggage, walking.
Wow.
Probably, I don't know, a mile and a half or 2 miles. I don't know how far it was.
Wow. Well, that's impressive. And that's a story in itself, just the fact that you're planning an apartment and, doing things long distance, calling up on phones, and people don't realize the analog age was so different than going on the internet and finding an apartment and things like that.
Very different.
So you moved out there as a single person.
77.
So
a year after I graduated high school.
So you met Ellie in California?
Yes. We met in California. I knew, well, after I got a job at Hanna Barbera. There's a lot of story before I got my job at Hanna Barbera. There's about 2 years there. And a lot of hard things that happened. But when I got my job at Hanna Barbera, a fellow assistant animator there, Peter Gullerud, who our oldest son is named after, he and I were buddies at the studio. Mm-hmm. And he had a very good buddy back in Wisconsin who was going to be moving out. And that very good buddy was my future wife's brother, one of her brothers. And then another one of her brothers moved out. So I hung out with these guys, my friend Peter, and then two of Ellie's brothers, Dirk and Benny.
Before you even met her?
Before I ever met her.
That's cool.
But I loved her brothers so much, they were such cool guys, that she was just like, "Hey, this is fantastic." But great lady and amazing. We've been together 45 years. We've been married for 45 years. And we weren't together long before we were married. We met in September, and we were married December the same year. Wow. We knew each other 3 months before we got married.
Wow.
And now it's been 45 years last December.
What a great story.
Oh, and amazing. And I couldn't have done anything that I ever did without her, as far as career and everything else.
I totally agree. We talk about that a lot, and I need to remind Love many times. I just said the other day, hopefully you got me some points, but I wouldn't be here without my wife. No. I just wouldn't be here, and I know you're the same way.
The same way, yeah.
So you went out there, though, wanting to be in live action.
I guess more. Yeah, I guess more so live action. At the time, it's like, 75, Jaws came out. 77,
huge.
When I got there, Star Wars was painted on the side of Grauman's Chinese Theater, which now you can't see that side of the building, but because Kodak Theater's there. But big Star Wars, hand-painted sign on the brick side of Grauman's. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, that was the scene, and then all the student filmmakers. I was, I even played a Luke Skywalker type, and I found some old slides. I didn't find any film, but Luke Skywalker type, and some other film students said, "Oh, you would be good for this," and you dress you up in a thing, and you put a gas mask on or something, and you're going to be on Mars. And we went out to Vasquez Rocks or somewhere like that.
Everybody,
that kind of thing. Everybody's shooting there, right? Everybody Cal Arts had to shoot there, right?
We went there.
So we were out there, or somewhere nearby, or up in Angeles Crest and National Forest or somewhere, and
So, but how did you get to Hanna Barbera? Like, how did that happen?
Well, I heard about it. I think it might have been. I don't know exactly how I heard about it.
Because this is like 79-ish.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, about. I got hired in 79.
Yeah.
And I tried in 78, and they rejected me, and I went. But they had something. It wasn't an internship program per se. It was a training program. You had to show a portfolio to get in.
Sure.
And they wanted to train new artists for the assembly line of making
The
Saturday morning
manufacturing.
cartoons,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were looking for art students and people who could draw.
Right.
And I had quite a few nice drawings. I did a lot of detailed pencil renderings at the time of people, portrait type stuff, of celebrities and stuff, and then other things. And then I had some cartoon drawings. And I showed them to the guy who was looking, Harry Love was his name. It was like the guy who was accepting you or not.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, some of these drawings are pretty good, kid, but he said, the rest of them are crap. He said, come, draw this year. Just keep drawing and come back next year. So I did that. I was so, heartbroken. And I was like, I know I can do this. I went back the next year, and the next year, Stan Wallace and I were sitting, we came in, both sitting in Hanna Barbera's lobby to show our portfolios. We didn't know each other. And we got word from Harry's secretary, I'm going to lunch. Tell him to go away. No, it's like, we got to see him. Well, send them both in together. So he literally put both of his portfolios down on his desk and went like this.
That's great.
And he said, you guys can draw pretty good. Come to the class Thursday night.
That's great.
Yeah. And it was a class where they really taught you in betweening their characters for their shows, cleaning up drawings. And then some of the old guys, Dave Tendler, one of the great Popeye animators with the Flesher Brothers.
Well, I'm sure a lot of
He was my mentor.
I was just going to say.
He was one of my mentors.
That's amazing.
Kenneth Muse, we call him Kenny. Kenneth Muse did great Tom and Jerry, and he did Tomcat. He was known for that.
Yeah.
He did all that great MGM animation. Yeah. They were my mentors. Hal Ambro, who worked on Peter Pan. Yeah. He was one of my mentors.
That's
Irv
fantastic.
Spence.
Amazing.
These guys were my direct mentors, and man, they were hard on me.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were at the end of their golden era. And
and
you guys were kids coming in to
phenomenal.
this, and they came out of big studios, and then Hanna Barbera, and phenomenal designers, and
But they hired out of the class.
Yeah.
And I got hired out of the class and started working.
How long did that take? Like the class? How long was the class?
The class was 2 nights a week, and I think it was for 2 hours or 3 hours each night.
But like for weeks and weeks, or?
I started the class in maybe September and was hired in December.
Yeah, so it really was a training program.
Yeah, but I was hired early, and Pete Gullerud was hired at the same time.
Yeah.
So we were both in the class, and we were both hired, I think, at the same time.
And those are
and
those are challenging days for many people that, you come out of college or didn't even go to college, whatever it may be, but you want to be in the craft, you're pounding the pavement. But in between all this, you're shoveling a lot of other stuff because you got to pay for your rent, even though rent was cheaper back then. But it's like that's a whole nother story, right? The survival.
My first rent was $165 a month.
Yeah,
for my apartment.
Mine was $270.
Yeah, and I couldn't afford it. And the landlord said, "I can bump you down to an $89 apartment."
Oh,
and I went, and even that he almost evicted me twice because I couldn't afford the $89 before I got my Hanna Barbera job.
Yeah.
The Hanna Barbera job was a union job.
Yeah,
but the apartment I lived in was once occupied by Nathaniel West. And they believe that's where he wrote Day of the Locust.
Oh, my gosh.
And also the Gish sisters lived in that building. 1817 North Ivar in Hollywood, California.
Wow.
Lillian and Dorothy Gish. And they shared that little apartment at one point, supposedly.
Wow.
So that was the fame that I had behind me. And I've got one piece of furniture from that apartment that the manager let me take when I left.
That's a pretty cool piece of history.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. Yeah. Next time I'm at your
Hollywood
house,
30s, 20s furniture, yeah.
Well, again, though, at that time, a lot of that, you probably couldn't go more than a block. I mean, even, I did a training program at Hanna Barbera before I went to Disney, but, that Cahuenga, that whole area is just loaded with history. So like you can't go a block without, that's the deli that such and such would frequent. So,
it's great.
Yeah, it's just Hollywood royalty in the area.
Yeah.
So you're spending time you're hired now. This is full-time.
Yep.
Hanna Barbera. You're on a show. What were some of the shows that you were on?
I worked on the pilot episode of the Smurfs.
All right.
The very first. It was a 15-minute pilot, 12-minute maybe.
It's made a few
that they did to try to sell it to the network.
Wow.
To NBC, I think, and it worked.
Yeah, it's still working.
Yeah, and of course I got no credit on that, but I was an assistant animator on that. Heidi's Song was the first feature that Hanna Barbera did, so I worked on that, and. There's the new Fred and Barney show, which was terrible, but I worked on that. And then the Scooby was Scrappy, which
Scrappy.
nobody likes.
Yeah,
but I worked on that.
Yeah.
And we did some Super Friends.
Super Friends
did quite
was big.
a bit. There was a lot going through right then. It wasn't good stuff necessarily, but it was good training, and met a lot of great people that, I still hear about and still, getting, touch with from time to time.
Yeah. The building's still a landmark. I know they turned into apartments, but I love that mid-century modern design of that building. Was amazing. And I got to tour it before it was shutting down, and you could feel the history in there. Just the paintings, and it was amazing. So, did you ever spend any time at Filmation or no?
No, I think I did some freelance for them, maybe once or twice, but no. And I've been over there. We've had people, friends or whatever, who knew other people there.
So maybe you can share a little bit. I know you've shared it with me, but I just love it because it's also one of the most innovative films of all time, and obviously it took decades for people to appreciate it. And it's something that when I was thinking about talking to you, and I've shared this with you before in Zoom calls probably, but it'll be interesting to look back at the end of this conversation because you really were at several major innovative film moments.
Oh yes,
major.
Yes,
like groundbreaking. Mm-hmm. The first TRON.
Yeah.
How did you wind up getting on the first TRON?
Well, my friend Mike Lessa, who worked at Hanna Barbera, he had just signed a deal with Ralph Bakshi, and probably people don't even know who that name is anymore. But he did a version of Lord of the Rings.
Do.
And Peter Jackson even knows that film because some of his shots are similar that he did. But he had just signed with Ralph Bakshi. But at the same time that he was signing, there was news that Disney needed some temporary artists to help push this live-action hybrid film through, and it was a science fiction thing. And he didn't know much about it. But he said, I know the guy who's hiring the effects animation department. So it was in visual effects, and I hadn't really done much visual effects at Hanna-Barbera, mostly character stuff. But he said, you're a good assistant animator. You're one of the best assistant animators Hanna-Barbera has now. So I'm sure they would take you on. So he said, meet with this guy. And basically Mike giving up the job and going with Bakshi enabled me to step into the place at Disney. And it was meant to be a temporary job. And I started out as an assistant animator, quickly promoted to animator because there was just so much stuff that needed to be done.
But you left Hanna Barbera for it.
Yes, I did. Yeah. I left Hanna Barbera for it, and it was because get a chance to work at Disney even if it's for a week. Right. It would be like that was never my goal as a kid though. I was never I want to work at Disney. I want to work at Pixar wasn't around. But I want to work at Disney. No, it's not. I never wanted to work at Disney. But my roommate at the time in Hollywood, because the adjoining doors, Gary French. Yeah. He was from Cape Town, South Africa, and I met him on his first day in the United States, and he became the head of, I think he still may be, head of physical production at Universal.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we all just love film, all this, and we love film and we love movies. And
so you're in this moment, and obviously 99% of the times, you've heard me say this many times, when you're in something special, you don't even realize it till it's over, right? So you're in this moment.
It's a shame, but it's the truth. It's like, you look back and it's like, wow, we did that? Yeah. I did that? Or I was in the middle of that?
Yeah. And then it's over and you're like, wow, we just made history.
Yeah.
So, but while you were doing this, and, I know you said you were doing some of the orbs or some of the effects work, right? Is that what you were doing?
For TRON?
Yeah.
We were doing a lot of things. We were doing sort of seamless transitions between live action and CG portions of the film. The identity disc they would take off their backs and throw. Right. So once they, all those paths of action, the interactive light that went around characters, that was like shading, and we would do all that
mats
and airbrushing and all that kind of stuff. Dumont, one of the characters, he's tortured, and you see a skull inside of his face. I animated that scene with a skull inside of his head, and it's like I didn't, I didn't really we were sort of had a discussion. Do these digital guys have skeletons inside of them? I said, well, they've got a nose and ears. Maybe they got skeletons. So we did a skeleton. I did a skull inside of his head. But And my mentor at the time was John Van Vliet. And John Van Vliet was, he had just come from ILM and had just finished Raiders of the Lost Ark doing visual effects. And he taught us a lot about lighting effects and backlighting effects and using, multiple exposures.
That whole ghost scene
that you can do digitally so easy now, but we were doing it all in film.
Yeah, amazing.
And it was amazing.
And you're doing that on the old main lot at that time. So you're on the old main lot, which was just amazing. Anytime you get a chance to go on the main lot,
we were in G-wing.
Yeah. So and there was a lot of there was still some of the 909 was still around because they had just wrapped up. They were finishing up. Was it?
With the Black Cauldron.
The Fox and the Hound, I think.
Fox and the Hound, they'd finished.
Fox and the Hound, they were
I think
they'd
finished that.
Yeah. So now you're on TRON. How long were you on TRON for, you think?
It was about 8 months, I think.
Yeah. So you're on that. That's a contract hire.
It is. We were temporary. We did a little temporary employee tag, or not a badge, but a ID.
So you've left Hanna Barbera, a union job. You went to TRON, which is part of a union job as well.
Yeah, it was still in the union.
But it's a temporary hire. Yep. So now is your thought, wow, I made it? Or is your thought, the gig's coming to an end. What happens towards the end of the gig?
I never worried back then.
That's great.
As I'm older, I do now. Somebody said, when you got off that plane in Hollywood and you said, I'm going to make films. I've got video footage I just found of myself standing on top of my apartment building, looking out over Hollywood saying, that's cool. Dude, I am here. Watch out! Look out, Hollywood! Here I come. I was just cocky and confident when I was a kid. It was just like, hey, I'm here. Yeah. So I didn't ever think about that. It was like I never thought about it. I never thought, what if this goes wrong or what? And now it's like, as I get older, it's like, unfortunately, I'm always thinking about, oh crap, mortgage, whatever. It's like it's just. But when I was back then. Yeah. I just like nothing was impossible, nothing was out of reach, and I would always say, well, they're just people like me, right? These guys that are doing this great stuff, making these great movies. How are they any different? It's like
exactly.
So
they're just people. Right?
They're all just people.
Yeah, but I think also one of the things that when you're younger like that, if you don't try, how will you know? And because you did try, look where. That was the beginning of where you are, right? Yeah. And even now, as, older in our careers, it's something that I do still think about where it's like, why not try something right now? We're going to talk a little bit about some of the projects you're doing now. But it's like, if you don't do it, you never know. So, you don't want to get hung up on worry. I remember I used to get hung up on worry many, many years ago, starting my own studio and leaving Disney and all this stuff. And you got payroll every 2 weeks. But it's like, what's worrying going to do about it?
Doesn't help.
It doesn't help you at all.
No.
So just keep creating, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So now it's around 82-ish, 83-ish, or mid 80s. Let's just say mid 80s. Mm-hmm. Were you offered another gig at Disney, or was it?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks to Don Hahn.
Okay.
He saw some of the. We had, at the time, 2 pencil test machines.
Right.
They were on reel-to-reel tape.
Oh, my gosh.
They were sort of analog tape video.
Yeah.
Right? I guess there's a digital component.
Hit the one click.
Yeah. And I was doing a test scene for something on TRON, I don't know what it was. And he happened to pass by and saw some of my work. And then some of the other guys in the effects department in Disney's they didn't call it feature animation at the time, but Disney's effects department that worked on the feature animated films. Some of those guys had seen some of my work, and I'd gotten to know a couple of those guys. Mm-hmm. And so through Don seeing my work, and then I did a big test. They were going to do the Black Cauldron, so I took it upon myself to do a big rotoscope job. I hired out a stage in Hollywood with all the money I had for like half a day.
It's a big risk.
35 millimeter camera, an actor who went on to do some movies, not big movies and not big parts in movies, but he made a career of acting. And my wife made a costume of the Horned King.
Oh my god!
And I did the paper mache horns, and we did this whole thing of him over a cauldron, and I animated and I railroaded him, and then animated this smoky trail all coming out of this thing, right?
Wow.
As sort of a test piece that for Dom, to show to Don Hahn, and I don't know if Don ever saw that one, but it was just something like, I want to work with you guys. I know you're going to do this film, and I want to work with you guys. And so it was a step of like, I need to show them that I can do what they're doing, not just this live action thing. If I want to stay here, right? But I still was thinking about it as being a load of fun to do. I didn't think about it as, this is an audition tape, and if I blow it, I'll never work in this town again. And I never thought of it that way. It was just like,
you're doing like what you do.
It was just like, I've got an idea. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this thing, and this will be fun. And I put in so many hours of pencil mileage on that thing for like a 20-second test or something. Maybe not even that long, 15 seconds.
But that got more
But I think that helped get more attention. And then Don said, look, if you come, you can come to feature animation. Everybody else that had ever come into feature animation went through the mail room for three months. I think it's 90 days. You came from Cal Arts. You had to go to the mail room 90 days, deliver mail, meet everybody on the lot. And I had met almost everybody on the lot because I was in the camera department all the time on TRON.
Right.
I was over there all the time and talking to the camera guys about this filter and that filter, and we're all talk. And so I knew a lot of people, and
amazing.
It was just something that just unfolded. And Don said, well, you have to take a demotion back to an assistant if you come to our feature animation.
Oh, you're crossing over now.
So now you're going from, because we, the guys, those of us who are working on, the effects animators working on the TRON, leather jackets, we drove motorcycles onto the lot every morning. Yeah. We smelled like gasoline half the time.
And you're making this weird movie.
Yeah, and we're all long hairs and stuff like, and we're making this really strange movie. Yeah. And a lot of people came from the advertising agency, Robert Abel and Associates, and these guys were all a bunch of, let's just put it mildly, they were the Lodies. Yeah. That's what we called them back then, right? And so,
it was the 80s.
And some of the Disney people were like, who are these people on the lot? Yeah. And we were sort of like the wild bunch had driven onto the lot and invaded. So we weren't necessarily. Nobody planned for us to stick around, but some of us did stick around. Yeah. Scott Santoro stuck around, Pete Gullerud stuck around, John Van Vliet stuck around for a while doing doing effects work on live action pictures for Disney, which I did too. Yeah. One called My Science Project, and then I worked on Michael Jackson's.
That's a live action film. I remember
Michael Jackson's Captain EO.
Captain EO was a big deal. I wanted to ask you about that as well.
I supervised all the effects for the hand drawn effects, and stop motion. So it's like I did all that.
So around the mid '80s,
with Scott and
I remember
Ed Coffey.
Yeah, and I remember seeing My Science Project. I think it's on your IMDb too. And so you're full time at Disney now. You've been on Black Cauldron. You made it through there.
Yeah, I worked on that.
You've got My Science Project is a film that just like Disney used to lend out animators for Fantastic Voyage or whatever it is. So it's like you're on that as well. But then I am curious. How did the Captain EO thing get introduced to you?
I think it came directly through TRON, and I don't know if it was Don Hahn's decision or whose decision it was, but we were between pictures. I think we had just finished Oliver and Company and starting on Little Mermaid, or we're just about to start Oliver and Company, and there was a little bit of downtime or something.
In between.
Maybe it was right in there.
Yep,
I think
it is right in between there.
Yep. Somebody came to me, and it was Harrison Ellenshaw. Peter Ellenshaw's son, Harrison.
Yep.
And I think since I've been hanging out in the camera department, he was like a top matte painter there. And of course he did a lot of stuff for Lucas and everything. But basically I think he and I sort of recognized my abilities to solve problems that had never come up before. Right. As far as how do we get this
and it's on live film. Action and animation.
Live action. How do we get this on film?
Through VFX, early VFX.
VFX stuff. And I was like I think good at finding a solution to problems, like the whole transformation of the characters from musical instruments into robots, like a transformer little sequence. They had not shot that, and we didn't have CG animation really. We had a little bit of CG animation, but not sort of character. So I proposed to George Lucas, let's see if we can do a stop motion. He said, do me a test.
Wow.
And we did a test with full-size character costume pieces, and I said, well, I think we need to hire a plumber or somebody who can do an armature,
Right,
a full-size
right.
armature that we can work. So this guy came in, and we shot it with 8 VistaVision
Wow.
cameras,
Yeah, those big,
single frame
giant,
stock.
yeah.
But it was stereo too, so you
Yeah.
basically had 2 8
Yep.
VistaVision cameras.
Yep.
And so we shot that whole sequence, transformation sequence we call it. It's pretty short, and you look at it, it's pretty crude.
Yeah, but how long did it take to shoot and put together?
It probably took me maybe a couple of months to do that.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
even though it's this little
6 or 8 weeks
Yeah.
or something. I mean, we did a few shots as a test
Yeah.
first.
Was Coppola involved in any of that?
Not at that time, because he'd already directed the live action in Lab. Michael Jackson was involved.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And he
yeah.
came over and saw, and so forth. And then, so they saw that, and Harrison Ellen Shaw, who was my direct supervisor, head of visual effects for the film, and Victor Livingston was the editor, and George Lucas was still executive producer,
Yeah.
but he would come every week or so
Yeah.
and check on progress. And so once they saw that, they said, yeah, okay, let's go for it, let's do it.
That's cool.
So then we got busy and did the whole
That's
sequence.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and many people are probably going to watch this and listen, but you need to Google it, because for us Gen Xers, Captain EO is a big deal.
It used to be in the
Epcot.
parks.
It was
used
at
to be at
Epcot.
Epcot,
Yeah, it
and it
was
used to be at
big deal.
in California at Disneyland. Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
Used to be there.
Yeah, the Epcot one was kind of the big base of
Yeah.
it, but yeah, because
But some
Epcot
of-
was opening. It was brand new.
Some of Michael Jackson's personal history that sort of.
Yeah, it got buried over.
But it's still sort of a fun movie.
Yeah.
Angelica Houston plays the witch, and Vittorio Storaro shot it.
Yeah.
Although Vittorio was like, I said, this shot's in 3D, so we should do. I do not care 3D. I do not care. Vittorio never cared about 3D. He just wanted to. He shot The Godfather, for crying out loud. No, that's Gordon Willis. No, but he was a great cinematographer. But
Were they together a lot? Did you see those guys together?
no, I didn't.
Coppola
I didn't.
and Lucas?
We were really in a post-production
Okay.
phase, so we.
But you did get to work with George, obviously, with
Yes,
the test.
that was really great, and with Michael too, and creatively some, because we did one pickup shot of him floating in the air that they let me direct on a stage at Disney, and so he's hanging, and we got a full sound system of playback for the song he's singing, so we filmed that. We just needed a few shots of him like looking right into the camera and floating in the air. So he was harnessed up on a thing, sort of
But
flying
again,
rig.
you look back and say, okay, yeah, it's very dated in its way, but we love it because it's very special, because it's part of our growing up. But again, extremely innovative moment.
Yeah, and then
Very
my
innovative
sister, my youngest sister Mandy, who's the painter, she was a huge Michael Jackson fan, huge.
Almost everybody.
And so I was tasked with getting his autograph.
Oh
and I'm
my
like,
gosh!
I'm like, Michael, can I get your autograph? Oh sure, yeah. I guess. Sam, you got some pictures in the car, and
So you got it.
So yeah, I got her one. She
That's
still
great.
got it. Yeah.
That's great. My sister was a big John Lennon fan. My dad got John Lennon to sign a
Wow.
Today Show script.
Wow.
When he was on the Today Show. Yeah. And my dad's not that guy. He never ever liked asking people for autographs. He worked in television for 40 years, and but
his attitude was like,
they
they're
were just
people,
like, okay,
right?
let's mic them up.
Yeah.
Let's get him going. But yeah.
We had one graduate of my high school went on to work for the Today Show, Nanette Nuffsinger. But she was a producer or associate producer or something there for years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they work together.
Yeah.
So Little Mermaid comes about. We're closing out the 80s, but Little Mermaid comes about, and it's just this massive moment, and I'm running about 10 or 11 years younger than you, so I'm coming out of high school, and I'm seeing Oliver and Company. There's a little bit of introduction to some CG moments with traffic and things like that. I was like, wow, look where all this is going. I'm getting real excited, and I'm planning to go to school. But then, while all this is going on, Little Mermaid gets made.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, the rest of the world starts to change its perspective of animation.
Yeah.
So you're on Little Mermaid, right? And you're
That's how I got the nickname Bubbles. Because I drew
Did you have to
so
draw a
many
few?
bubbles. I tell my friends and family, I didn't draw all the bubbles in Little Mermaid.
Probably feels like
I
it.
only drew about 40 billion of them. I didn't draw all of them.
Gosh.
Yeah, so my job was, I was the bubble man for the most part. I was the bubble guy. Not every scene, but for the most.
So you were Mr.
I was really pretty good at shadows and lighting. You know, when we would do like drop shadows and moving shadows and directional light through windows and stuff like that. I was sort of really into that, how characters would move through light and stuff like that. More because I've been a huge fan of cinematography, and I've sort of dabbled in cinematography myself. But cinematography is just magic to me, and I still get American Cinematographer magazine on my doorstep every month, and I have since I was like 14 years old.
That's right.
And read them from cover to cover every time, and I'm just in awe of cinematographers and what they can do, and just visual storytelling. But yeah, so a lot of my approach as an effects animator was still in my mind live action or whatever's real here, and thinking of how it could be translated into animation.
But this is a very pivotal time. You've got 89 closing out. When was the first time you heard about there's something going to happen in Florida?
The Florida studio came up probably about a year before that, and we had a few meetings of like, we're thinking about doing this thing, and is there any interest? And I was on the review board.
The artist review?
Yeah, the review board.
I've done that.
For 11 years.
Yeah.
In California and Florida.
Both.
Yeah. And that's where we first started hearing about Maybe. And for me, a lot of it, we were just talking about this morning, we were talking about it. I was a journeyman animator, union animator at Walt Disney Productions. That was the name of the place at the time. I could not afford to buy a house in Southern California.
And that was the late 80s.
In the late 80s. I could not afford to buy a house. So part of the Florida thing was, we'll pay you the same as you're making here.
I'm in.
And you buy cheap land in Florida, which we bought. Eventually bought 28 acres of land in Florida.
I'm in, baby.
Thanks to my wife. But it's like, and we thought, and at the time it's like, I think we'd rather raise our kids. We didn't want the kids really. Yeah. We didn't think much of the public schools in LA. Yeah. And we didn't know. We thought it'd be a better place to raise kids. Maybe it's just because my wife was originally from Oregon. I was originally from Tennessee, and so we weren't like trying to move back to the Midwest or anything, or any kind of mentality. It was just, I think, the affordability of the whole thing, and also too, one thing occurred to me: I'm going to be the same size fish. Yeah. As an artist, as a director, or a guy who wants to direct.
Well, we're going to talk about that.
But we're going to be in a smaller pond. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And we literally were in a fishbowl.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break here, but...
is there coffee involved?
There's coffee, and we're just getting into it, so this is going to be pretty awesome. So let's take a break, and we'll be right back with Artist Lunchbox.
Good.
All right. Celebrate the animated story of My Neighbor with both the release of the children's book and the coloring and activity book. Both are available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, as well as Premise Press. The children's book comes with a free Flip-Its activity, a flip book where our characters come to life. It also includes a parent's guide with wonderful themes for the whole family. All right, welcome back to Artist Lunchbox with special guest Barry Cook. We're just having an awesome time learning a lot about your career and the challenges and the successes.
And we got coffee, too.
And we got coffee. We got some Dubai chocolate. We got some whole bunch of other stuff. So we left off the Florida studio. You heard about it. It's an opportunity. You have a young family. Mm-hmm. LA, even in the late 80s, too hard to get a home and with some space. So you say, sign me up.
Yeah, I loved working on the main lot at Disney, but they had moved us out to Flower Street during Oliver and Company and Little Mermaid. Right. So we were just in sort of warehouse buildings. It's sort of a famous stretch now. And at the end of the street, of course, is where DreamWorks planted their flag. And ARL is on that street and stuff.
Imagineering's still there.
Imagineering is still across the street for Disney. And then we moved into the Hat Building, we called it, which is a very user-unfriendly building. It was a very strange place to work. We were all sort of cloistered off, separated from each other. So the feel of being, walking in the footsteps of Walt and all the 9 old men and everything that had happened there at Disney on the lot, that was sort of not around anymore anyway. So I think that was another incentive of like, if we're just going to work in a new building somewhere, why not? So
did you know the Hat Building was coming when you made the decision to go to Florida? Because the Hat Building was like...
We worked in the Hat Building.
So you did make it to...
Yeah, we worked in the Hat Building for a while, yeah. Maybe at least a year or two, I don't know. But yeah, I worked in the Hat Building. But anyway, we went back to the Hat Building and did development for Mulan.
That makes sense. Yeah, because Florida opened in 89. I showed up about 3-4 years later. And then I think the Hat Building, I remember the grand opening was around 94 or 93.
Right. So we went back 2 years to work in the Hat. Yeah.
So when you went to Florida, you were part of the opening crew in 89, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got this small group. Mark Henn, who I had the privilege of training under him as well. He's part of that group. He comes over. Mm-hmm. Who else was in your group? There's a bunch.
Well, I tell you what, it'd be crazy if I could remember all of them. Barry Temple, I believe, was in that group. The director, we're going to do a Roger Rabbit short. Bill Kopp at the time, he did not end up finishing as director on Roller Coaster Rabbit. Rob Minkoff did, and but the original crew,
Aaron,
Dave Steffen, and then I was just trying to think of the ones who had already worked in Burbank,
California, right? That makes sense.
But people like Aaron Blaze and Jeff Dutton and different people who had just finished their internship.
Been there for a bunch of years,
and of course Mark,
So now you guys go out to Florida. It's fresh, it's new, and I remember going through the studio as a tourist in '89. I remember looking into the fishbowl. There was hardly anybody in there, but all the desks were in there. There was a few guys doing stuff. I wish I knew who was who, and I was getting ready to go to college. I was getting ready to go to Cal Arts, and I remember thinking, because in my thought process, I can't wait to get to working at the Disney studio in California, was my thought process. So I go to Cal Arts, and by the grace of God, right? But I looked down, and I'll remember that trip vividly. And I'm an East Coast person, so some of that's a little bit biased maybe. But I remember being in Florida. I remember the bluest of skies, the greenest of grass, land as far as you can see. And these guys are animating Disney movies here. And it was such a shocker to me, because I didn't know that was happening. I show up as a tourist.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? Yeah. And I'm seeing all the, the Ken Weber inspired furniture. Yeah. And it's just like, I'm getting, my mind's blowing about this. So you guys are in there, you're building this thing up, and Mermaid is this huge success. But now with you coming to Florida, you're an effects animator at this point.
Yes.
So at what point does your gears start turning where it's like, hey, this is almost like the Disney studio in the 30s, right?
Yes.
It's like a new place, and you guys are young, and you've got this big new opportunity. Like, are your gears turning at this point, thinking about, well, it's not just better for my family, but maybe I can make my directorial debut in some way.
Well, yeah, just it was the beginning of CG animation. And Rob Becours was there, and James Tooley had come maybe a little later. Of course, Alex Cooper-Schmidt had been at Disney before any of us.
Yes, he was a design group. Or
there's a design group that worked there
in Florida.
In Florida,
yeah, I remember that.
And somehow I got an idea for a short film that would have a 2D character and a CG character together, and I storyboarded it.
Yeah.
And it's called Off His Rockers. The name came from Max Howard. He's the one who gave it the title, great title for it. Off His Rockers, and I was sort of like identified with that term too. And it was like Thursday night pizza night.
Better than Mr. Bubbles.
I would order a pizza and pay for it, and say, "Can some of you guys stay tonight and help?
Yep.
And we're going to do this." And it caught the eye. The film caught the eye of Roy Disney. I think Roy Disney Jr. first. He's like, "What are you guys doing? What is this? Is this something we're doing?" We're like, "No, it's something we're doing, but we're doing it after hours, so we're not,
Right.
Oh well." And then I think we had time between Roller Coaster Rabbit and Rescuers Down Under something, or a break in there somewhere where they said they threw the crew on it to finish it.
Fantastic.
And there's a lot of stories behind that film and how unlikely it was to ever get made. And it was before Toy Story.
Big.
And there's a lot of Toy Story things in it, in a way.
Yes.
I know that John Lasseter's student Cal Arts film had anthropomorphic
well,
objects.
Tintoy was there.
Tintoy. But even before that, his hand-drawn stuff were like, that's sort of his thing. But yeah, we had a little cowboy, or a little boy dressed as a cowboy that looks a lot like Jesse in some way, but he's a boy. Yeah. But my son Peter did the laugh. There's no lines in it. It's silent, but he did the laugh for a kid.
Well, I thought it was amazing. I remember seeing it, I think it was it Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or something like that?
They released it
theatrically. One of those movies.
Yeah.
And I remember this short comes up, and immediately I was like, this is so original, because you can feel the difference. Because, and I don't know, I think I asked Rob about it many years ago, but how you were doing CG with he's riding the horse, or the toy horse, and there's printouts and there's rotos, and I mean just the process. Now, granted, they were already doing it with the clock all the way back to Great Mouse Detective, but still, that was again another very innovative film.
First CG character, really, I think that we had tried as a character.
And one of the themes that I hear from you, and I've got my own experiences of doing this as well, and it's great for people to hear this, is you applied yourself to places that were not necessarily always a paid place.
Well, and they weren't. They didn't even exist.
Right. You're creating it. You're and honestly, at the
greenlighting my own film.
At the end of this conversation, that's why I want we talk about this all the time. You greenlit yourself. Mm-hmm. And today, with what's going on with our creator economy, it's all about greenlighting yourself. So I love that story because of that. What was going on there. So were you a part of Aladdin at all as well, or no?
I was. I did some effects animation on Aladdin, and that was the last film that I did effects animation on. The most notable scene is Jafar's staff smashing. That's shot. It's a very short shot, but the shot where it smashes.
So you got to touch it. You got to touch Aladdin.
So I sort of got to touch Aladdin. Thanks, Ron John, for that. But and of course, before that, I worked on Beauty and the Beast, also the part that we did in Florida of that, and as an effects animator. And I supervised our small effects department in Florida.
How different was that, going from being an effects animator to now, this is probably the first time that you're a crew?
Yeah, supervising a crew.
Yeah, so
the people we had, Sonia Grunfeld and Jeff Dutton, and others went. Kevin Turcotte, he went on to be a background painter, but he was on it. So they were sort of, then myself, and maybe, I don't know if there's another, but they were all so good.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard. Yeah. It wasn't hard to supervise those artists. They were very motivated. Everybody in Florida, it's like we all loved doing what we did, and we all had respect for one another, it seemed like, and it's just like, we just loved it. So it wasn't hard.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable. Florida Studios, so special, and we'll talk more about it. But and even people outside of our studio knew how special it was because we were all together for such a long time there. Where does the Roger Rabbit short happen, and how does that happen?
Well, we had done. Rob had done Tummy Trouble,
right,
on Flower Street in Glendale, in Burbank, wherever, and Bill Kopp was going to do the next one because I don't know what Rob was doing at the time.
But Bill was in California.
Yeah, but Bill came to Florida, but it didn't work out for Bill. But then they said, Rob, you did such a good job on Tummy Trouble. Come on down and do this one. And I ended up, for some reason, Rob and I hit it off well. And Kelly Asbury, of course, rest his soul. But, Rob and I was in the effects department. I was in a character animator, but we would get together after hours and looking at everybody's pencil test for the day or for the week even. Mm-hmm. And I would spend time with him in the editing room. And we were so into comedic timing, getting just, let's pull one frame out of this hit and it's going to make it funnier. And let's do this. Mm-hmm. The kind of thing that Chaplin did in his live action films, extracting frames to get a certain timing. It was all about timing and rhythm and everything, And there's a musicality to editing that a lot of people don't understand. But and Rob and I we felt like we were filmmakers together. And then when it came, and then Rob gets called away to do The Lion King, and they said, "Well, we're going to do one more short, Roger Rabbit short." Right. And Rob said, "Barry should do it. Let Barry do it. He can do it." So Rob recommended me for the job, and they said, "Hey, if Rob says he's good enough to do it, let him do it." And we'd already done off his rockers.
Right.
So I'd already directed
Perfect.
one short film.
Fantastic.
So that worked out good.
Yep. And that was done in Florida.
Yes.
Now, around this time, I'm coming to the studio, and I remember, I think Annex 1 was just built, or maybe it was about to be built. No, I think it was just built. And there was a room I walk into over there, and it was a bunch of just inspirational artwork and development artwork for The Legend of Fa Mulan.
Yes.
So how did you go from Roger Rabbit to all of a sudden, what was the spark of Mulan?
Well, the spark was sort of studio driven more than just for me, but it was, we thought we had done, I don't have all the numbers right. If I talk about numbers, I probably got them slightly wrong, but we'd probably done 20 minutes of Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
And maybe 20, 30 minutes of Aladdin or something, just as a studio.
Right. And the
some ink and paint on Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
We did do animation there, but some ink and paint, Little Mermaid.
The Roger Rabbit
in
short.
Florida. Roger Rabbit short. And we're like, we all, we'd sit around at lunch and say, we could do a feature.
Yeah.
We could do it. Give us a feature. Give us a feature. So that was what this chant came up from the Florida studio. Give us our feature. Give us our feature. We can do a feature. Let us show you. We can do a feature.
Yeah.
We could do it.
Yeah.
We've got what it takes to do a feature. And they're like, no. Yeah, we can do it. We can do a feature. So I was in Burbank for something, because we did travel back and forth, even as animators and stuff sometimes. But Tom Schumacher took me off to lunch. He said, I want to talk to you at lunch someday, one day, and we're going to have lunch. Oh, okay. And we went to a place, I guess so nobody would find us or we couldn't be seen talking together. But he said, okay, you guys want a feature? We'll let you develop a feature. And he said, we've got two things in mind in development, and one is the story of Mulan, and one is the thing about Scottish dragons. And I think Scottish dragons must have been, it wasn't How to Train Your Dragon.
Right.
But it was just an idea of that. And for some reason, I said, well, we could always put a dragon in the Chinese story because Chinese have dragons.
Right.
So I said, I would rather do that one. It was my thought. And he said, okay. He said, go down and start developing it. Start making it, yeah. And so I was really the first artist on the project. And I just sat alone. And then the second one, I said, can I have Rick Sluter for a while?
Now
Rick was like, I mean, if there was ever a bromance, maybe from my side, but Rick Sluter is just like, and Jeff Dutton too, but those two guys, I could have never done half of what I did without those two guys. They are incredible people. Mm-hmm. They're incredible artists. Amazing. And they believed in my talent, and I couldn't survive without their talent. Yeah. I mean, when I started at Disney Studios, part-time, or temporary, I was the worst artist there. I didn't have that CalArts training. Yeah. People could draw circles around me. But what I did have, which was instilled as a very small child, I had a huge respect for artists.
Yeah, well, it goes back to
every
the house
one of
you grew up in.
Every one of these people who would come, Mark Hinn, Glenn Keane, Rick Sluter, and I would be astonished at what they could do. But I really respected it, and I think that maybe that's one reason they tolerated me as a director is because they knew that I had great respect for them.
Yeah.
And admiration for what they could do, what they could bring to a movie.
I'm sure. Yeah. So now when you get called out to California to develop Mulan.
Further develop it.
At this point, are you doing that in California or are you doing that in Florida? Because I would see you in Florida. You had that little back office and David Wong was doing early paintings.
We would, yes. So Dave Wong and Rick, and we'd do some...
But you weren't always around.
No, I wasn't always around. And then we basically said, we've got to get out to California, start maybe storyboarding some stuff. We at some point we had to pitch an outline of the film to Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Were you still solo directing at this time or no?
Yes, okay. Yes. Chris Sanders was there, of course, as head of story. Chris, I think he would admit, he sort of came on to Mulan kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know if I really...
But he loves it. He talks about it all the time. But a special film.
Yeah, but he taught me so much, and maybe a little bit was mutual, but he's the only genius I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
Speaking of geniuses in the business,
yeah,
the guy's a genius.
Yeah.
he's not just skilled.
Yeah.
He's got something in his head that nobody else has when it comes to storytelling and character building and world building. But anyway, so that was like the start of it. And so Chris was there, and Chris and I were pitching
in California.
In California.
Yeah.
And that's when this sort of took off, and it's like, this could make a really good movie. Chin-Yi Chang joined us in California.
I remember seeing his drawings.
Dean Dubois joined us in California.
Yeah. Dean came from Bluth, right? I think he came from Bluth.
Maybe so, yeah.
I think he was
a layout artist, yeah.
Layout.
And then he went into story.
Yeah, because
and now he's legendary director.
And a great guy. And Chris had done a really great sequence, I remember, on Lion King. And it was Can't Wait to Be King? I remember it was just a killer sequence.
Yeah, and Chris had done, the first time I ever met Chris, and last time I talked to Chris, last time we saw each other, I said, the first time I saw you, we sort of met, but I was just taking a little tour of, you were storyboarding when Belle gets surrounded by the wolves for Beauty and the Beast. He boarded that sequence.
Great.
And I was looking at those drawings, and it's like,
yeah.
And I'm like, I don't belong here with an artist like that. And that's the first time I remember seeing him at work. I'd heard about him because people had been talking about this guy, Chris Sanders. He's tough, he's good. But to see him work, to see him draw a little bit and everything is like very inspirational.
Yeah. Great guy, too, and incredibly talented. So Mulan is being developed. At what point do you leave California and come back to Florida on a pretty regular basis at this point?
Well, co-directors, we always had co-directors. Right. So that's when Tony was chosen as a co-director for Mulan. And when we were at the end of our sort of 2-year period out there.
You're 2 years in it, basically, building this,
about 2 years
getting it going.
Yeah. So Tony came on right about the time of production.
Okay, and he moves out to Florida,
right? And his brother, Tom. And
well, Tom had been there already, but
Tom had already been there. Yeah. So we had the Bancroft brothers.
Yes, we still have them.
We still have them.
We love them. We love them.
We do.
So I remember one of my other memories with Mulan, production wise, not the Viz Dev. I'd always crash that room because I love David Wong and the artwork that was going on. And it was just phenomenal. Mark had seen me working on a test, one of my own little tests. I was just having fun, and he had asked me to assist him early on Mulan. This was really early, and you remember this better than anybody. And it was probably like a year before many people were deep in production, and we were doing a very early version of Sequence 6. Do you remember this? Sequence 6. The Dean Dubois does this killer, phenomenal, super cinematic, the layout drawings. Mark does the whole, taking out the sword and Mark's.
Well, we'll say Chin-Yi Chang. I had thumbnailed a bit of that sequence as an idea for it. Chin-Yi Chang had done an original storyboard pass, and then Dean did sort of the final, definitive storyboard pass of
lighting and all.
So that's the way I remember it happening.
Yeah. And,
great sequence.
And Mark does this phenomenal scene, and then there was a model change. Do you remember this?
Of Mulan?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I sort of remember.
Yeah. And I remember just how fast. It's when I really, really appreciate it. It's like Mark's speed as an animator.
Incredible.
Blew me away.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to keep up with him, and this is before I joined Tom Amushu, but it was just, I just remember that was like a big moment for me. It'd be like, my goodness, this guy's whole sequence, and he's banging it back out.
Yeah.
Like it was nothing. So, yeah. So when you guys were going through all this, and obviously there's challenges, right? You're directing a big movie, first time, you got a co-director, and Tony's a great guy, and but you also have these geniuses that are in story.
Yeah.
How do you guys collaborate? How did that
Well,
work?
they didn't know they were geniuses, and we didn't know we weren't directors. I think that's really how it works. And it's funny because last time I talked to Tony, who's like, don't you remember the time we almost both got fired, and we thought we're going to get fired from the show, and they're going to get some real directors in the air? And I said, I don't remember that. I never remember that.
Yeah.
All I remember is, I'm making this movie. That's all I ever remembered. And that's all. It's like, and I just felt like, hey, this is what I'm doing today.
Yeah. Boy, it was a big movie, and you guys did a phenomenal job. And we were just on a call the other day, and you heard somebody pretty well known say, "My goodness, Mulan is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen."
Yeah.
So I'm so proud to be a part of that team, and Tom did an amazing job supervising, and I really enjoyed working with him as well on Mushu. So you're taking all this leadership lessons, which you're gathering up. You're cranking along. Mulan was a big hit, huge hit. It was big for the studio. It was just, again, another major milestone for Disney, obviously for you, for all of us. And to this day, it's still, it holds up so well. Do you ever think about, and I'm sure you do, but do you ever think about the legacy that you've been working towards leaving in terms of, you've made a major mark on Disney history, not just your, obviously your own history, but that film was really a landmark film in many ways.
Yeah, I think it was a landmark film in the type of stories that Disney told, too.
Yes.
Now, they were in the mood of, they wanted to do a musical,
right,
because if Chris Sanders and I had our way, it would not have been a musical. We didn't really want it to be. We're not sad that it ended up being a musical or having musical numbers in it.
Right.
In the first half of it, maybe. But you think of the Princess movie, and somebody sent me that comedian who talked about the Earth.
It's fantastic.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I should put a link in below of that thing. It's fantastic.
We will. It is fantastic. I showed Marcus the other day.
She wasn't a princess, or she wasn't swept off her feet by a Prince Charming and that kind of stuff. And the story took place during a war.
Yeah.
And of all things.
Yeah.
And she was an ordinary, and she was, and the reason she did what she did was for the love of her dad.
Yes.
Outrageous.
Yes.
We had Disney executives go nameless when we were early in development saying, "Oh, you should kill off the dad. She doesn't need two parents. She should be like, better to put her at a disadvantage and have only one parent." And it's like, no, that's not what we're doing. And but anyway, Chris fought for the story. I fought for the story. Jeffrey Katzenberg actually fought for our version of the story. He liked what we were trying to do, and yeah.
Well, again, super innovative film and so different than other Disney movies. So, big hit. We're cranking along. Florida Studios really starting to peak right now. Chris and Dean, again, they love the Florida studio. They also loved making a movie outside of California so they can run a little bit more, right?
Well, yeah, because sometimes we would go for weeks without hearing from, because they would just forget to pick up the phone or something, right. And we were like, "Oh, we've already got that sequence animated. We'll show it to you later." About sequence 6. Oh, we're done with it. Whatever. But
which was a big benefit, right?
Yeah, it was a benefit. It was almost like
have your vision.
It was almost like just being a little out of sight, a little off the radar.
Yeah.
And you could try things, and you could do things, and you could do things before you got caught doing them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And you went back, that thing about permission and like greenlighting yourself. Yes. And that's what I have a lot of young people ask me, how do I become a director? How do I become an animator? How do I get into film? And I say, well, don't wait for anybody to give you permission.
Yeah.
You probably heard a lot of people say that.
Yes.
But I learned that a long time ago. It's like, no. If you want to do it, then just do it.
Yeah.
Just start doing it.
Yeah.
And then do the next film and the next thing.
Yeah.
And just keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we talk a lot about that. And Chris, I think, enjoyed that experience so much so that he said this very early on when we were doing Lilo, but one of the big reasons he wanted to bring it back to the Florida studio was, hey, I want to be outside of that scrutiny so I can have my vision, but also he loved the Florida studio.
The crew. That watercolor style.
Yeah.
And Peter Morley being able to crack the code.
Oh, my God.
Peter Morley cracked the code on the Mulan backgrounds, too.
Yes.
Phenomenal artist.
Yes.
But they had there was like a training of, we're going to learn this watercolor style.
Which was unheard of.
And a lot of them had never painted watercolors, and they were using, gouaches and opaque paints. But to do that and to make such a beautiful film, and then Chris's vision totally, I had the privilege, and maybe a few people did, but in Burbank, Chris said, I'm going to make this movie. And he had done a little, almost like a children's book.
I've seen that, yeah.
He showed it to me just after he had finished it. He may not have had it finished yet. And I'm like, wow. what a thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But you know, I worked at the Florida studio, but I did not get to work on Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people did.
It's
but
a great movie.
What a great movie.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I think he had.
But what a great merchandise! It's like,
oh my gosh,
it's a
a resurgence.
We have two boys that go to our church. They each have a big Stitch doll. They bring them every Sunday morning. They're sitting in the front row with Stitch.
Yeah. Yeah, he started out selling Pooh and Mickey Mouse many years ago, and he's not stopping. And I think Chris had mentioned in one of the director approvals, I think he had mentioned showing that children's book to Tom Schumacher at the Swan or Dolphin Hotel when he came up to Florida.
Yeah.
I think that was the story where it's like, and here's this little homemade, beautiful little...
Well, you always saw the thing he did about how to build an airplane or whatever.
It's fantastic.
You have that?
Yeah, I have
it. Is it published? Or?
No, I have a PDF of it. Yeah.
I'd like to.
Yeah. He shared that. It was it was like the big company. Or was that done on the retreat, or was it done for the retreat?
Maybe for the retreat, one of the retreats. Yeah, but Chris could see, and we could all see. It's like this thing's getting too big, sort of corporately.
Right.
But the filmmakers are the heart of the film, the stories, and we got to let them make the movies. Yeah. And if you wanted to make the great movies, let them make the movies.
Yeah. Well, and there was so much change, as you know, as we went into the 2000s, and even though it's like, you know, you went off and started developing My Peoples, which Aaron was off developing Brother Bear. So for the Florida studio, we were cranking through Lilo and Stitch, and Brother Bear was coming up. But then there was a shift in the industry. We were feeling it. There was a lot of change going on. 9/11 changed everything. And I've said it many times. It's like, you know, I'll never forget coming out of the
shift in the world.
The shift in the world, the shift in the economy, the shift in taste, the shift in everything. You know, I mean, just the fact that I remember coming out and going to sketch in the park and nobody was there. All you heard was like an eerie echo of music coming from, and you knew the world had changed in so many ways. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, there was a few films that Disney had released that, you know, Home on the Range, which was originally Sweating Bullets, which I still would have loved to have seen. Mm-hmm. You remember that? That was like that version.
Mike Gabriel's version would have been great.
Oh my gosh, it looked phenomenal. And then, you know, Atlantis was a very complex film, and then the really big movie and so much effort went into it was Treasure Planet, and unfortunately they didn't land.
Right.
They didn't land,
they
didn't land with the audiences, and amazing amounts of work and costs, and so there's this big consolidation that we were all feeling, and you know, My Peoples, which, you know, I know there's some stuff out there, and it still would have been a beautiful, again, another innovative film.
Yeah, here very different.
Yeah, but you took a bunch of us 2D guys. Mm-hmm. Next thing I know, Rob Records is like, "Hey guys, you got to learn CG." He's down there, and they come up with a charting system. You know, we had a charting system in CG, and really early system of, well, let's teach these 2D guys how to use CG, but think in 2D, and we were doing all the tests, and very innovative. And I think I still have that one test. You had entrusted in me some early development stuff while I was on Brother Bear. It's the Rick Mackey, I think, did the designs. Was it Rick Mackey?
He did some. Yeah. He did some character design.
There was a scene where there's a mechanic who's 2D, and Dolly Parton's the little puppet. She's CG. She's. And we're in that little. I think I have a Carousel. Remember Carousel? Yeah. I think I have one of those.
Oh, really?
I'll have to dig that up. I'll have to find that. But again, super innovative film.
Also, too, there was something about that film too that. It was not a film because it was never made. I heard a guy say the other day, said, if you write a book and nobody reads it, have you really written a book? If you make a movie and nobody sees it, have you? But I made the movie in my head, and it's made, and it's all there, you know. If anybody ever, you know, Disney ever wants to pull it out of the mothballs, you know, give me a ring. But the cast was, I was trying to get a diverse cast. I had Native American character. I had, you know, Southern Baptist preacher, African American character. We had, you know, the voice of Dolly Parton at the time that she was going to do the part of Angel, and we had Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Who talked Hal Holbrook.
Hal Holbrook.
And he talked about emancipation all the time. So there was a lot of sort of Americana, and where America had come from, and the music of America. Of Appalachia
and blues,
the sort of and blues and bluegrass, and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou had just come out. So at least people in Hollywood knew what bluegrass sounded like, or knew what that sort of music was. But it was basically, from a plot standpoint, it was Romeo and Juliet's story, or Hatfield and McCoy's. Two families whose young people loved each other, but the families hated each other.
Right.
So it was Montague's Capulet sort of setup, and that's really what the story was in a big broad sense, right? But then below it was this other thing about the thematic for me was the character of Angel was made to do a certain thing, yet she rejected her maker. And she said, I'm not going to do that thing. I don't like those McCoys down the road. We call them McGee's, I think, instead of McCoys. Yeah. I don't like the McGee's. We've never liked the McGee's as a family. I'm not going down there to be a love trinket, a goodwill offering, which is what he made her for, to this girl. I don't care how beautiful and nice and lovely and different from the rest of her family she is. I'm not doing the job. I'm leaving town. Yeah. And she tries to escape the whole situation. And the rest of the peoples, I called them, they try, they go after her, chase her to try to pull her back. We had a great scene in a drive-in movie theater where they're redubbing the voices on the screen. That was hilarious. Ashley Judd was going to do a voice for us. Hal Holbrook, Charles Durning.
Yeah.
We had Beth Grant, who was doing a marvelous voice for the spinster character.
Again, very original.
Yeah, it would have been a great movie.
Yeah,
it would have been a great Disney movie.
Yeah, yeah,
and it would have made some good merchandise too.
I'm sure,
but it was not to be.
Not to be, and there's been a lot of really great films that they don't make their way out.
Yeah, most movie ideas never get made.
Right.
That was one of them.
Well, we were cranking along with Brother Bear, and they had started to do some of the consolidation, and then of course we've got the ultimate news. 15 years the Florida studio has been going. It's amazing. You guys have been open together, but we've got to shut something.
Fill in the plot.
Yeah, they closed France. We got to do something, and obviously the shopping different appendages, and it was very difficult. However. A few of us get in this mindset of, okay, well, we're free agents, or, I had an opportunity with Disney Toons at the time, but I was working with them, and they were kind enough to still keep sending work here. But this is a big time of change for many of us at the studio, all of us. You enter the independent space, in a way, going to different studios and things like that. I entered an independent space and creating our own studio and doing our thing. So now I don't see you for a little bit. Wasn't that long. It was only about a year, I think, maybe less.
Yeah.
And then around 2005, we've got our studio going, and you had reached out to me, and we reconnected with Demoniac, a very early version of Demoniac.
Right. And that was a short film made in conjunction with the Jesus Film Project. Right. And so you guys helped board it, Enoch, and we cut together. Mac was editing.
Yeah.
And so we put that together as story reels. It didn't get produced for years later.
No, they didn't have the money to produce it for about 10 years.
But we did a storyboard version.
We did storyboard versions.
Yes. Yeah.
But what was interesting about it was that I think neither one of us at the time, we were just in such a grind and the hustle of trying to make this new life beyond Disney, which, again, for artists and something I share a lot, it's like, you have to be able to adapt, and even if you have an opportunity to try something different or something new, you don't know what that chapter may bring. And it's one of the things that, my goodness, we're there more than ever in terms of a changing environment. So now you're out there and you're getting back into the director seat with other opportunities, right? You've had some other films and other studios that come along. Yeah,
probably the biggest one was co-directing Arthur Christmas, maybe for Aardman, and that was Sarah Smith's film, really, and Pete Bainham. They were the co-screenwriters of the film, and Pete Bainham is a marvelous comedy writer who works on a lot of big comedies in Hollywood still to this day as a writer and punch-up writer and stuff like that. But he's an amazing, funny guy, funny man to be around. But Sarah had not directed a feature at the time, and she now has Locksmith. That's her company in London. I think they're in London. So to greenlight that film, I think they wanted an experienced feature animation director to come alongside of her, not because she needed the help, because she was, she knew what she wanted to do. She had a vision for it. But I think it was sort of the money sort of thing. It's just, it's like, let's bring in somebody who's done it before.
Big risk.
And we can, and then Sony and Aardman can get together, and the money can be greenlit, and the movie can go forward. And I was there through all the storyboarding in Bristol, England, and character design process, and all the environment designs and storyboarding of the film. Yeah. We probably storyboarded the film 2 or 3 times, or had 2 or 3 full versions of boarding and tweaking on it. So for it to be dropped into Sony ImageWorks or Sony Feature Animation and produced there, and that's where I met Chris June, and he was the visual effects producer on the show then. Yeah, I know he works for the Chosen Group.
Yeah. Is it Out of Bounds? I think is his company. I can't remember.
Yeah, I didn't know he had a company.
Yeah,
but,
so.
But anyway, but it was a great experience, and once animation was started, more or less solid, and everything else, and the ball was rolling, I wasn't really a necessary component in the thing, and so. Yeah.
So this is a big change, right? We're so used to the Disney support structure, and knowing the people, knowing everybody around you. Now you were doing a lot of traveling during this time period, right? You were down in Australia doing a movie. You were in Alaska. You were in Israel. That was a big change from being, in St. Cloud on the ranch.
Well, I don't like traveling.
Well, you could have fooled me, Barry, during those years.
I don't like traveling per se, and I certainly don't like traveling after 9/11 with TSA and everything. But I like being places. Yeah. Whenever I get there, I'm right at home. Places. Wherever I land, I feel right at home. It doesn't matter if it's in Dubai. It doesn't matter if it's in Israel. It doesn't matter if it's in China. It doesn't matter if it's in Tokyo. And all these different places that I've worked, Portland, Oregon, for Leica, in their development department for a year. I've always just felt like, wow, I'm loving being here. Sydney, Australia, I lived there for a year during Walking with Dinosaurs. And there was a BBC 20th Century Fox co-production, and mostly BBC had the creative control of that. But but the opportunity to live in these different places and stuff, that was something Disney really did. We went to places
for research.
We went to China for several weeks and things like that. But to basically hop around the globe from one job to another, helping somebody develop something or
and whatever. Living in the land. I mean, it's not like you're there for a week. I mean, I know there'd be some stints you were gone for 8 months or a year.
A year, sometimes up to a year.
That was a big deal. Yeah. I'm sure, that was probably challenging family-wise too, right?
Yeah, looking back, I probably don't realize how challenging it was at times.
Yeah.
But even when I was developing my peoples here, it got to a point where I went to California to develop and to work with some artists there while Florida studio was busy on Brother Bear or whatever, or starting into doing Lilo and Stitch probably. Yeah. And I went out there for a period of time, and I think that time of separation between myself and my family was tough. Yeah, tough on this, but yeah.
And during that time too, would you say that you started to get much more involved in scripting and writing?
Well, I think my love for screenwriting started with Mulan. And part of it came from Chris, because Chris told me, he says, Chris didn't write it out as a script necessarily, but he was talking to me one day, and maybe a few of us, and it was just a casual conversation, but he said, whenever I'm stuck on a story problem, he said, I just start writing longhand. Let's see, well, this could happen, and maybe, and what if I did, and I just start writing longhand, I just write out, and it's like scripting, but it's not like in a screenplay format, or it's just he's just writing, he's just putting his thoughts about it down, and he seemed to always find a solution by that process. I'm not sure he still uses that process, but I remember him specifically telling me that there was one thing he did to sort of break a sequence or break a story moment to find out sort of the best way to do it. And he also said he got most of his ideas in the shower first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that's actually my time too. Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching an old Disney special where it was, I think it was Frank Thomas. He'd walk around the backyard and created almost a walkway in his backyard of just walking and think up ideas, or shaving. He'd come up with ideas. For me, it's also the shower.
Mine's not shaving, because I never shave.
Yeah.
I was scruffy.
Well, in the last, bringing us up to kind of more recent days, in the last several years, in between your studio projects, in between my studio projects, we have found ways to work together on some very impactful projects that are very special to us. Our faith and the type of content that we want to, impact the world with positive and uplifting. So, in these latest years, you've been doing, and I've got a few of them here, obviously, but you've been doing a lot of your own stuff.
Yeah.
I know right now, this is the latest one that's out.
Yep.
Last Banjo
in Paris. That's a stage play, actually.
Right. Yeah. Which makes for a very funny movie.
Yeah,
we talked about it, and that location that you have is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
It takes place in the town that I moved to.
Yeah.
In Paris, Kentucky.
Yeah, it's
where
great.
I live now. But it takes place in 1974, which would have been my high school years. I wasn't in Paris, Kentucky during that.
Right.
But I sort of put my high school memories together with my love of some of my favorite scenes in movies are courtroom scenes.
Yeah.
And To Kill a Mockingbird and
Few
Good Men,
and
I love comedy.
Yeah.
So I combined the comedy with the courtroom.
Yeah.
And so it's got a little bit of a murder mystery tied in there too.
Yeah. And then I know this one was a couple of years ago.
Yes, The Happy Place, and this was written as a sort of a meditation on my dad's passing when my dad died. Right after my dad died, I started writing this.
Yeah.
And it's funny, it's a ghost story, and that is a ghost story, and there's an element of a ghost story in that one. And I thought, what is it about ghosts? I'm sort of fascinated with.
A Few Good Ghosts. You're the other.
Well,
film.
that was the one title of it.
Yeah.
But that aspect of that movie wasn't as strong as shouldn't have been as strong as it was to make a title out of it. But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
But I thought, what is it? The first movie I made was Christmas Carol that has like 4 ghosts in it.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So I've always had this ghost thing. Now, this story, my parents died, my mom died, and then a year later, my dad died. And it represents part of the house they lived in. I lived there for a few years in high
And it takes
school.
place in 1969.
This takes place in 1969, which was my formative years as a sort of a kid growing up. But it happens right before Woodstock. And it's about a guy who's on his way to Woodstock, but he gets waylaid in this old house with an artist. But the artist is a woman, not like my dad. But we ended up making this as a full cast audio play. So it's on Audible now. You can listen to it on Audible.
And it sounds great.
Yeah, we Daniel Hancock helped me a lot with it. Full sound effects, original music in the
like
score.
listening to a movie.
Yeah. It's a movie without pictures. Yeah.
And just to close out the little ghost theme, I got that one.
The Gumdrop Ghost.
That was last year, I think it was, or a year and a half ago. I can't remember.
Yeah. The Happy Place came first, and then the Last Banjo in Paris is the last one. But the Gumdrop Ghost was, I guess, inspired by my grandchildren. Yeah. And that's why I dedicated it for grandchildren everywhere. We have 11 grandchildren now.
That's fantastic.
The last one just born January of this year. And of course, our oldest granddaughter is named Lily, and the character's name is Lily. And it's a Halloween story, and it's about a ghost. It's about a ghost who gets stuck in a gumdrop. But this is my first attempt at illustrating myself a book. And sort of, it's funny because Alex Cooper Smith once told me, he says, because he saw some of the drawings I did as a kid. We had a kid art show one time at Disney. And Alex says, you still draw the same way you did when you were 10 years old. And I'm like, yes, I do. That's my style. Don't you like it? But anyway.
That's awesome. Again, greenlighting yourself.
So. But yeah, greenlighting myself. And it's like, but again, have you really illustrated a children's book if nobody's ever bought it? So I haven't really made a lot of money on any of this yet, but it's just a way for me to get stories out of my head. I have all these stories in my head, and I want to just make them real, and it's part of the legacy. My grandchildren will have those books. 100%. My kids will have those books. My family will have those books. And other people might have those books, and other people may get those books later down the road. But it's like I don't feel like I'm I'm not ambitious anymore. I don't really have great ambitions to do these great things anymore. But I do want to tell stories, and I want to tell the stories that I want to tell the way I want to tell them. And they may not be as good as the way other people would tell them, but these are my stories from my heart, and you're
getting them out there. Yeah. They're going to live beyond you.
Yeah, sure.
And you're getting. I equate it to like a creative itch. I have to scratch it.
Absolutely.
I don't care if I'm the only. It's scratched. It's done, and I move on.
And that's the way like Office Rockers started.
Yeah.
I want to do a short film. Yeah. I want to see if I can meld 2D animation and 3D animation. And it's like nobody else was doing that at the moment. Yeah. Something I wanted to do, and I just started doing it.
Yeah.
And it's the same with these.
No, it sounds good.
And the one I'm working on now is The Cat and the Fiddle.
Yes, which is a graphic novel, really.
Graphic novel, and it's a big project. Yeah. It's a feature. It's like a feature film. I wrote it right after I left Disney. I wrote it as a screenplay.
It long ago. And
Max Howard helped me a bit with some of the structure of the screenplay and sort of story consulting early on. But I think I finally have the time now to sit and really do a lot of drawing and really work it. I don't know how far I'll get, but I'd like to do it in 3 installments. I'd like to have the first installment done by the end of the year, but I don't know.
Well,
I could be drawing right now. Maybe I could draw while we're doing this and get a couple of panels done.
I'll give you some paper and pencil. We're getting tight on time, so I'm going to blow through some questions, just some questions I had. Some of them maybe a little bit deeper in terms of philosophical or what drives you now, because again, as you know, careers change, we get older. The content that we've been involved in, we're developing something now together. Different things of that nature. Was there a specific point where you were drawn to maybe more? I don't want to say purpose-driven, but a deeper spiritual theme in your storytelling?
Well, it's funny. One of my favorite films you mentioned at the top as a kid was a favorite film. One of my favorite films was Jesus of Nazareth. Mm-hmm. I loved that film. I don't know why I loved it. It's Franco Zeffirelli. Beautiful, beautiful film. And also talking about art, there's never been one person who ever lived, no matter what you think of him, that has inspired more art, more music, more stories, more spin-offs than Jesus. Yeah. Right? He's like the ultimate source, and he was a storyteller himself.
The ultimate storyteller, yeah.
And, you know, the parables and the stories he told were astonishing.
Yes.
And some of those parables are like underlie so many other movies. And most movies I learned in screenwriting, they're all about, you know, the rise of a character, the death of a character, and the resurrection of a character. That's right. It could be a love story, it could be anything, but there's something about that. And maybe, you know, some people would argue that myth goes beyond and even earlier than Jesus or something. But that structure of you know what a story is and what we as humans respond to in a story. So it's fascinating me. When we were at Disney, when I was working in the A-Wing on the Black Cauldron, some fellow Christians and we shot a short 16 millimeter film of Jesus being tempted in the wilderness. Mm-hmm. We called it The Tempter's Voice. Yeah. And it's a little side project we did a couple of weekends, and we edited it, you know, after
I
work.
Seeing footage of
right?
that. Yeah, he showed me.
And, you know, hindsight, you know, things I would do different, but I've always had a fascination with Jesus and his life and stories and just the art that's been, you know, Michelangelo's work and Pietà and all these different things, you know, all these images of Jesus and ways of how he's been portrayed. And now with AI, it's getting like really sort of really weird, you know, Shrouded Turin, come to life sort of things. And it's like, but he is a fascinating, no matter what, any other thing, he's a fascinating source of inspiration for the artist, for the songwriter, for the composer, for the filmmaker. Look at Martin Scorsese's work. So much of his work, you know, and no matter what you think about the way but, you know, it's like Martin Scorsese's first things as a kid, he was doing The Passion of Jesus in like a comic book form. You know, when he was a teenager.
Documentary,
His drawings aren't very good. But they were sequential, image, in color. He would use colored pencils. And he said, I was making the movie. And that's what I feel like with The Cat and the Fiddle that I'm doing. And even with I'm making the movie, I'm putting it down some way. These are all movies in a way, but it's a short film or a cartoon, but they're putting the story down on paper. Hitchcock even said, I make my movies on paper. It was a great quote from him. and that's what I'm trying to do now, making my movies on paper. I'm not. None of these three have any real Christian content. Mm-hmm. These three books, not really. Mm-hmm. These three don't. So I'm not really down a path of trying to do faith-based work mm-hmm. on my own necessarily. Mm-hmm. Although some of that does flow into, stuff.
Yeah. But again, I think you touched on it too, though. It's fascinating who Jesus is and his story, because you do have it all. You've got betrayal, deception, triumph, redemption. I mean, it's all in there. So it is a
gore and violence.
Everything. Yeah, everything's in there. If you had to give some advice to upcoming directors, or even just creative leaders, what would be a generic piece of advice? Because you went from mm-hmm. having your own team with an effects team to directing shorts to directing a feature, and again, people change over the years. You've learned a lot. Mm-hmm. What would be, if you had to give a general piece of advice for a creative leader in animation and filmmaking? What would it be?
Well, I would say lead, don't push.
Yeah,
and because I think there's shepherds and there's cattle drivers. Mm. And you see the cowboys with the whips,
yeah,
and they're pushing the herd along. Cows aren't very happy about that. We see the shepherd who leads a flock, and the flock comes.
Yeah.
So my leadership, if there's anything about, if I have a style of leadership or a style of thinking about it, I'd much rather try to be the shepherd leading the flock and saying, "Come on," and they may say, "But it looks dangerous over there. We've never done that. We've never crossed that creek." It's like, we can do it though, because there's a way across. Look, I'll show you. And so it's leading the other filmmakers and the artists with you on a journey, on a path to where you think we're going. Mm-hmm. It may not even be there. Mm-hmm. Like My People's wasn't there at the end. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But a place you think is there, and a vision you have for where to go, and to try to lead yeah. and not be the boss, and not get caught up on that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really good, and I totally resonate with that as well. How, when you started, even when I started, the field was really small. What would you, there's so many good young artists now because of all the stuff that you can get off the internet. They're phenomenal. They're amazing.
They are.
But many of them are having a hard time finding work. Yeah. And they're phenomenal. They're better than we were when we got into Disney. What advice would you give young people in terms of how to stand out in the noise?
Well, I don't know how I would possibly get a job now. I have a nephew who just graduated from SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, with a degree in animation. He's really talented. Mm-hmm. He's really good. Mm-hmm. Cool guy. He's having trouble finding work. And of course, we're in this transitional period and this AI period where a lot of monotonous things can mm-hmm. be tasked out to mm-hmm. a robot to do. I don't know how to navigate. I don't think I have my background doesn't tell me how to navigate this current mm-hmm. trend, mm-hmm. other than the most satisfying work you can do is work that you want to do, not just a job mm-hmm. to make rent. Mm-hmm. So start doing the work you want to do, even if it's on your own. Keep doing it. Maybe it'll turn into something.
I think you just answered it. Basically, it's greenlight yourself.
Yep.
It's make something.
Yep.
Don't wait for someone to give you permission. And the people that have stood out are the ones that maybe they weren't the strongest artists, but they made that, and that got somebody's attention.
Absolutely.
So you actually did answer it.
Yeah.
Because you've done it, and we do it as well. Well, we're going to take one last little pause before we get into the lunchbox. And we'll be right back. And then when we open the lunchbox, we'll see what last.
A sandwich, I hope.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right back. Click the link below to learn more about our full library of titles, and by subscribing to our newsletter, where you'll gain early access to upcoming releases, behind-the-scenes footage, exclusive offers, merchandise, and content just for you. Don't miss out. Check the link below. All right. Well, our time's coming to an end, but before we do, there's a couple more things I wanted to go over, just real quick. one of the things that our producer does, he puts some questions in here. Don't know exactly what they are, but they should be leaning towards you.
Okay, well.
So it's not exactly that awesome lunchbox that you bought recently, the Herman Munster
yes,
one. You know?
I got the Munster lunchbox. Yeah.
It's not that one. It's a little bit different. But so you open the lunchbox and
I opened the lunchbox.
Yeah, and let's see what see if there's something in there.
One of those springy snake things will pop out, right?
What that is?
Probably dog hair I brought in this morning. If there were a sandwich in this box, what would you like it to be?
I know that's not it.
Okay. I had to put on my reading glasses for this one.
Oh, I can read it for you if you want.
I got it. Streaming versus cinema. How the platform changes the art. Is that a question? It's a topic.
Yeah, I guess it's a topic. Any thoughts?
I love going to the movies. It's one of my favorite things to do. I try to go every week to see something in a theater. But I am a little afraid of the business for the exhibitors for films.
Yeah.
And I admire the filmmakers who are trying to keep their films cinematic and keep them on the big screen and to make them events and movies, to watch on the screen.
Yeah.
I just saw Marty Supreme last week. Beautiful.
It's making a fortune.
Beautiful movie. Yeah. Man, oh man. And I saw that in the theaters and well worth, seeing in the theaters. Begonia, I saw, and that was shot. I don't know exactly why they chose to shoot that in IMAX, or maybe they shot it in 8-perf VistaVision. I don't know why they chose to shoot that particular film that way, but they did, and it's beautiful. But a crazy sort of story. I was anyway. But I hope the experience of going to the movies and sitting in the dark with strangers survives. It's my happy place, I think. I love going there, shutting off my phone, putting it on airplane mode,
immersing yourself, basically.
And just saying, nobody's going to bother me for the next 2-3 hours. And I'm going to just go and let this filmmaker take me on a journey.
Yeah, it's definitely a big challenge right now, and the good thing is everybody's talking about it because of this whole mergers and everything else that's going on. So I also love going to the movie theater. So it is something that we love. Is there another one in there, maybe?
Let's see. B42.
Bingo.
The future of the big studio model.
Yeah.
That's a topic.
Yeah.
Is that a question?
What do you think? What do you think is the future of the big studio model?
I like, it's a thrill to walk on the Paramount lot.
Yeah.
It's a thrill to walk on 20th Century Fox lot.
The Warner's lot.
Warner lot, Disney lot. And to have been on all of those, but even the smaller lots in Hollywood and LA Center Studios, downtown LA. I worked there for a while on a project. And I love that environment. I just love that vibe. I love the thing, but the big studio system of making films, I don't know. I think that's sort of been gone for a long time in a way. Filmmakers are driving, I think, again. Seems like it. But yeah, I don't know if I have any predictions or.
Do you think, given where we are right now, obviously the technology is coming in a really, really big way. Different. It's not even the digital. We went from analog to digital. We're in something else completely now. Yeah. But and I might be a bit crazy on this side, but I'm thinking glass half full. I'm thinking there's more of greenlight yourself, independent filmmaking opportunities now than there perhaps even were.
Well, there's no excuse. If somebody wants to make a movie, I think you can make a movie now.
Right.
Yeah.
You saw what happened just last week with, what was it, Markiplier, is that his name? The YouTube guy. He went out, got 3,400 theaters on his own.
Really?
And put a movie out, was number 2 at the box office.
No.
He stars in it, wrote it, directed it.
Really?
Yeah.
Who is this?
He has a big YouTube following.
Wow.
And he made a horror movie, wanted to make his own horror movie. Yeah. Went out, went to the theater owners and say, hey, and his audience came out. Yeah, he made $24 million on a $3 million budget. So I actually think that it might be in a very exciting time it's what we're doing right now. We're investing in ourselves, and And look, you're just making stuff.
Yeah.
Just make stuff. And the only difference between you and a large studio is always going to be marketing. That's the big difference. Yeah. So, yeah. See if there's a question in there yet.
Okay. Question. What do you hope your body of work ultimately says about you? I guess that I wasn't afraid of trying stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid to try. And I wasn't afraid to fail either, although I didn't ever like that. But maybe that's, because the kind of story, it's like maybe some of the things I've done are sort of unlikely candidates for me, I think. You think of me and you think of this film, it's like they don't sort of match. But who I am and who my films are, I think are really, or films I've worked on are. And some of it was just working on a film as an animator or whatever. So it wasn't really my vision. But the things that have been partially or maybe largely my vision, which there haven't been that many, to be truthful about it, but those things, maybe they should say more about me, but I don't know what, and maybe they do. Maybe somebody else could figure that out. I'm not trying to tell anybody anything about me when I'm making the movie.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to tell them a story about this other thing that's fascinating to me.
You touched on something there, and I'm curious, and I don't know if it's easy to answer. Is there something that stands out that you would say, not necessarily the most successful, but what may have been the most meaningful moment in the span of, I know there's tons of them, but is there something that jumps out that's like, wow, that moment really, outside of success, it meant so much?
Like a moment during the making of something?
Yeah, during the making of your career. Yeah, during your career. Is there something that just stands out as like so meaningful?
I don't know. It's a transitional thing, I think. It's something that, to me, meaningful as a storyteller and meaningful as this idea that I had, and to me, very meaningful for the success of the film for the audience. And that was that moment in Mulan where Captain Shang had buried his father, and I said, it should start snowing. And it should keep snowing as they then leave that situation and go into the mountains. And then it was immediately broken by the comic relief of Mushu.
Yes.
So a moment in time during a film that you can watch, but also during the making of a film, working out that moment, for me as a filmmaker, revealed a lot and almost everything to me about how you make a story, and you bring an audience to the point of tears, and then you let them laugh again.
Yeah.
So that tension and release of filmmaking. So those are meaningful in terms of the craft and the art. As far as personally meaningful for me, I'm not a very sentimental person.
We talked about this yesterday.
And if you want to talk about anything I worked on yesterday, I don't care about it, really. It's like, I'm always like, what I'm doing next is the only thing I want to do. Yeah. And I don't even want to visit things that, maybe that's a fault in mine, but it's like, I don't, and unfortunately, I just sort of, I don't know, it's almost like you know how you you store it away or you clear the card or whatever it is, it's like, I need more room in my brain for new things. Disk drive. Then I need more space in my drive. Yeah. And I can't fill it up with all those things in the past. Even as good as they are, it's like I don't want to be caught up in those, and I don't want to be even identified necessarily as a person by those things.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah, to me, it's just like what's next.
Yeah.
What's next? It's always what's next for me.
Which is exciting. Like I said, you and I were working on a project now, and hopefully we'll see where that goes. You've got Cat and the Fiddle. You've got a couple of other things that you're also involved in.
Yep.
So it's going to be a busy year for you no matter what.
Yep.
So you're doing a lot of stuff. And not to, again, you said something just now, it makes me think of maybe just one parting piece of advice that it may not necessarily be for the young Barry, but if it was somebody like the young Barry, looking back of what you've done, what would you have told the young Barry, one piece of advice?
And I don't know if it falls into a category of regret, but I regret not doing the stories I wanted to tell earlier and working on everybody else's movies.
I totally agree.
For a long career. And although some of those, when you get on a movie like Mulan, I feel very attached to that movie. I feel like that's my movie.
Yeah.
At first it wasn't, though. It was something the studio handed me, developed this. But so much of what I worked on, Walking with Dinosaurs, I did a cut of the movie that was my movie, and it felt like it was my movie at some point. The studio recut it in the end, and it wasn't my movie anymore.
Right.
But, yeah, doing your own thing instead of doing somebody else's things, and working on your own things, even if it pays less than doing somebody else's thing that pays more, I think you'll not regret as much doing your own thing. And I feel like throughout my life, the times I've done my own thing, even with a trail mix-up that I could get a hold of and make it my own, or Mulan, that I could have a big voice in saying how the story was told. Yeah. But those things to me are the most satisfying to have to work on while you're doing it, but also to have worked on.
I agree 100%, and even in the last recent time myself of doing our thing, I wish I would have started doing our thing sooner. We've been a service studio for many, many years, and then bunch to more than a dozen years at Disney, and so I think that's a great piece of advice for any creative that's watching this right now.
Like a carpenter, build everybody else's house, but then you build your own house.
Yes,
and there's something very, very great about that, right?
Yeah. Well, Barry, thank you so much. I know this is very rare for you to sit down and do this, and I've known you for so long, and I did learn a few new things after 33 years. But thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.